Hey, what's up everybody and welcome back to News Dose. Resident Evil Village is officially out today. We've talked a lot about this game since it was first announced last year, or really even before that, because we did get some leaked information ahead of the official announcement. It always makes me happy though to see a big game like this come out after we've talked about it so much on the channel, and now fans can play it and enjoy it for themselves. So it should be a fun weekend with Resident Evil Village. We do have a lot to talk about today though. It looks like PlayStation got yet another big timed exclusive, or actually extended would be a little bit more correct. They have been doing this quite a bit here lately, and I know a lot of people don't like this strategy. I know it's frustrating to see a game you want and know it's coming to your preferred platform, but you have to wait for an extended amount of time because a publisher paid to keep it off of opposing platforms. I don't like it myself regardless of who does it, and it's kind of getting ridiculous by this point. So we're going to talk about that today. Also, we got an exciting sequel to talk about for you Yakuza fans and the future of that franchise. Before we get into all that though, let's talk about Xbox Game Pass. Yeah, we get to open up with Game Pass today as a new game was announced. This wasn't revealed by Xbox themselves though, but rather the Funcom developers let it be known on a live Twitch stream that Conan Exiles will be heading to the popular subscription service. Now, we don't have an exact release date yet, but considering the developers are open enough to talk about this publicly, I do imagine we will get a release date here soon, and very possibly could be one of those second half of the month releases. In fact, a Conan Exiles expansion comes out May 27th, and pairing that with an Xbox Game Pass release could be a smart move. We've seen time and time again that Xbox Game Pass can really provide a spark for an online community. You know, Xbox Game Pass has nearly 23 million subscribers now, and subscribers will absolutely jump into these new game releases and try them out. So I think that would be smart, especially for a game like Conan Exiles. And actually, speaking of games that have success with Xbox Game Pass, here's a cool quick story for you. A couple years ago, Descenders launched into Game Pass, and it was just confirmed today that they reached 4 million players and decided to renew their contract with Xbox. First off, big congrats, but yeah, that's the type of success you can see, and that's why we are seeing more developers open to the idea of launching their games into Game Pass. I mean, they had so much success that they don't even want to leave the service, and that really is telling. Whether you're a small game like Descenders or a big AAA game like Outriders, Game Pass has proven to be a useful tool in growing a game and community. Now, we also got some Nintendo news. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, but their current forecast for the Switch is 25.5 million units for the 2022 fiscal year. That would be an insane amount of Switches to sell in a 12-month period, and we're even hearing word that they would like to produce up to 30 million Switch units in that time frame. I mean, if they can pull off 30 million units in a single year, just wow. However, it's not as simple as that. The demand could absolutely account for 30 million units. During the 2021 fiscal year, they managed 28 million, so it is possible that they could continue that momentum, but at the same time, there is a semiconductor shortage that is affecting pretty much all electronics, including the Nintendo Switch. This is also one of the big reasons that Microsoft and Sony can't produce as much stock as what they want for the new consoles, and now Nintendo has admitted their concerns over the situation in a press conference. Nintendo President Shintaro Furukawa had this to say: "Due to the global shortage of semiconductor materials, we are not able to produce all the products we want. We are doing everything we can, but there is an increasing sense of uncertainty about production plans." And that is more than just a little concerning. While yes, the demand is there, it could start to become increasingly difficult to find the Switch as the year goes by if the semiconductor situation doesn't improve. Also, if Nintendo does indeed release a Switch Pro this year as rumored, that could be majorly affected. It might be another PS5 and Xbox Series situation where they just sell out immediately everywhere, and it's just hard to find. Now, we've been hearing different things about this semiconductor situation. AMD mentioned things might improve during the second half of the year, but I've also heard that this problem might persist into 2022. I don't think anybody really knows with absolute certainty, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Switch won't be majorly affected. I'm really rooting for them to hit that coveted 30 million number in a single year, but most importantly, I want fans to easily be able to get their hands on a Switch. Moving on though, Ubisoft revealed a couple new Division games. Yeah, you heard that right, not just one, but a couple games. Now, the Division did really well for Ubisoft last generation, so it's not really surprising that they would double down on this franchise, but they are taking an interesting new direction. So apparently Red Storm Entertainment, which was an assistant studio to the first two games, is making a new standalone free-to-play Division game that will launch this year or possibly even in 2022. There's no exact release date set in stone for the Division Heartland, but it is being planned for undefined consoles, PC, and the cloud. And okay, that could be interesting. I could easily see the Division having some success as a free-to-play title. It's become very evident that free-to-play games can be absolutely huge with microtransactions and ongoing support, and there's a lot of possibilities with the Division. Like I said though, they actually announced two games. The second one, however, is a mobile game. Mobile games, of course, can have a lot of success and helps expand the recognition of IP, so that's a good direction for Ubisoft to take. It's pretty obvious that Ubisoft is really making The Division into a premier franchise, though. They're also continuing work with The Division 2, so they have a lot happening with this franchise between all three of these games. Now, something we've been covering for the last couple weeks just came to fruition. Right after Sega released the remaster for Judgement on the PS5 and Xbox Series, they opened up a countdown website. There was a lot of speculation that this would be a sequel for Judgement, which the evidence did support that. We talked about that before, but now it's been 100% confirmed as Sega has officially announced Lost Judgment, and this is an awesome announcement for multiple reasons. The first thing I need to say is that Yakuza is an amazing franchise. If you like story-driven games, you absolutely owe yourself to play these games. I always recommend starting off with Yakuza 0, but interestingly enough, Judgment is also a great place to start. Judgment is a spin-off and can be played as a standalone game, whereas Yakuza can be a little more intimidating because to go through the entire Kiryu saga, you'd have to go through 7 mainline titles, 0 through 6. But now that his story is finished up, Sega's doing a lot more with this franchise. They just released Yakuza Like a Dragon last year with a completely new cast of characters and a new way to play. It is a turn-based RPG, which is quite the shift compared to the more beat-em-up style that they're so well known for. Well, that was a part of the announcement today. Judgment is becoming its own series that will pick up the mantle and focus more on action-based combat, whereas the Yakuza games will continue its transition and remain turn-based. And really, I think that's the best of both worlds. Both playstyles are a lot of fun, and if you think about it, this just means more Yakuza games are planned for the future, and that right there is the best news you can get. It's been so interesting to watch this franchise blow up over the last year though. It's been a growing franchise for a while, being exclusive to PlayStation for the most part, but they've really expanded with PC and Xbox here recently. I mean, seriously, Xbox has gotten 9 mainline Yakuza games in just the last year, and these are not short games at all. You know, it's going to take some time to catch up, but it's absolutely worth it. That's where Judgment comes in though. You can jump in right away, and you're already caught up. With that said though, Lost Judgment is planned for a global release on September 24th with dual audio. They have been doing that here recently, and it looks like it will be a mainstay as the Yakuza franchise has progressively grown in the West. Really, it's grown so much that they've even committed to releasing these games globally at the same time from this point forward. So yeah, that's a lot of good news for you Yakuza fans. I know I'm certainly very happy about all this. Next up, let's talk about PlayStation and timed exclusivity. I've seen a lot of people really get frustrated with this type of stuff in the past, as Sony has really been locking up these timed exclusives. Well, one of their biggest time deals was Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was supposed to be a 1-year timed exclusive for the PS4. This was very well known, with Square Enix showing PC footage at one point in time, and also PlayStation had right on the box art it would be a timed exclusive until April 10th. There was some expectations that maybe Square Enix would announce it for Xbox and PC after April 10th in 2021, but we haven't really heard anything at all. Instead, they announced an upgraded version with the Yuffie expansion, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, and so far it's only been announced for the PS5. That was a bit of a surprise for those who are waiting, and since that point there has been an ongoing rumor that maybe PlayStation extended their contract. Well, it looks like that's exactly what's happening. A new trailer for Intergrade released today, which looks great by the way. I love Final Fantasy VII Remake on the PS4, and I'm absolutely pumped to play the Yuffie expansion later this year, But yeah, right at the end, it does say in the fine print, available on PS5 at least 6 months earlier than any other format. In other words, Intergrade is a 6-month timed exclusive for the PS5. So with that in mind, Square Enix will likely just wait until the contract ends and then release the Intergrade version on other platforms instead of the vanilla version. It would make no sense at all to release the vanilla version for other platforms by this point, but I know this is frustrating for PC and Xbox fans. They've patiently waited for a year, and now that's going to be extended for yet another 6 months. At the very earliest, Final Fantasy VII Remake would be allowed on Xbox and PC January of 2022 since it releases on the PS5 on June 10th. That is a significant wait, and there's also that ongoing question on whether or not Sony is going to try to do the same thing with Part 2, Part 3, and so on and so forth. I mean, Sony has managed to get multiple Square Enix timed exclusives so far. Forspoken is another 2-year timed exclusive, and Square Enix will go wherever the money's at, as we've seen. So yeah, there is a possibility that this could continue, which again, is very frustrating for fans. This is a huge game that fans have been waiting to play for decades, and now some have to wait even longer. As I said, as a customer, I'm not a big fan of timed exclusives. Whether Xbox does it, PlayStation, or whomever, I'm just not a big fan of that stuff. But I also understand the business of this type of move. Clearly, Sony's been having some success with this stuff, or else they wouldn't do it. I actually blame Square Enix a little bit more for accepting these type of deals because, again, fans have been waiting for such a long time, and I guarantee it would sell well on other platforms as well. They must be getting a lot of money from Sony, though. It is what it is, I guess, but the good news here is that there is a chance that Final Fantasy VII Intergrade comes to Xbox and PC early next year. There was some doubt about this after the initial Intergrade announcement that it wouldn't happen, but it looks like the countdown is just restarted instead. On to our final topic of the week though, let's take a look at the poll of the day. Yesterday, Nintendo revealed a massive 2021 fiscal year. The Switch has now officially sold 84.59 million units, and by this point, it seems pretty much inevitable that it will surpass the Wii as the best-selling Nintendo home console of all time. It's really just a matter of when rather than if, so I asked you all, will the Switch outsell the Wii by the end of 2021? And most of you all do seem confident that it will, and I think that's a good solid bet. As I mentioned earlier, the Switch forecast for the 2022 fiscal year is 25.5 million units, which would easily surpass the Wii. Obviously, the holiday period are the biggest months of the year, so if they achieve their goal, we're likely looking at 100 plus million Switches sold by the end of the calendar year. They only have about 16 million left to go, and most of that will come in those holiday months. The biggest mystery right now, though, is that semiconductor shortage. Can Nintendo produce enough? And I think they will. Nintendo does have a tendency of under-promising and then over-delivering on their forecasts, so again, I think it's a good solid bet that they will surpass the Wii in 2021. I'm certainly very happy about that because I think the Switch is one of their best consoles ever made and debatably the best, and truthfully, I never could get into the Wii. I just did not like the motion controls with the Wii, so I'm happy to see Nintendo go back to being the Nintendo I grew up loving so much. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.